It's showtime, a-holes. Time to strap yourself in and brace yourself for Muscle Asylum TV and radio.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Muscle Asylum TV. This is not an unplanned one. I've been meaning to get you on, but I just messaged you and said, when are you free? You said, I'm free now, so let's rock and roll. So we are joined today by Lee Priest. So Lee, what's happening, mate? You're obviously in isolation like everyone else. I don't think you're managing as well as everyone because I can see your rants on social media every day.
The thing is, isolation to me is just the same as any other. The only thing I can't really do is go to the movies, but every other day I just train and stay at home, watch TV, go muck around in the backyard, find stuff to do. I'm OCD, so I'll vacuum and clean the house 3 or 4 times a day. So it's just another day to me. It's just no movies.
I was going to say, you look like, well, you come across as the type of person that doesn't really like, well, you social distance yourself from most people generally from day to day anyway. So this isn't too much of a change of life.
No, I've never liked crowds. That's even the funny thing. Even when I was into bodybuilding, it's like, yeah, I love the fans and stuff, but then if I'm at an expo, because you're around that type of people that, you know, knows bodybuilding, knows who you are, that's okay, but I don't like nightclubs. If I go to a restaurant, I got to go to the restaurant for dinner at 5, 6, really early when the restaurant's quiet. I just don't like I wouldn't go to sporting events where there's huge crowds and stuff like that. I just never like being in big crowds. If you're around like the bodybuilder, because they know who you are, it's sort of like your people type of thing, but anything else like a beach, when I was married to the ex-wife and she had kids, I was getting ready for the universe. We'd have to go to the beach some days in summertime, and I'm one of those people, I hate showing my body unless I have to do it on stage. So we'd go to the beach, I'd pull up there where the little kids' pool is a bit that packed. I'd be like, okay, kids, we're going home. They'd start crying. They're like, what's wrong? I said, I ain't fucking going out there. There's too many people. So I'd ruin the kids' stay because I wouldn't go to the beach and take my shirt off. So
I can imagine. Yeah, I remember when I caught up with you at the expo at the Arnold's, not last year, the year before. I can't even remember now. It might have been last year. You looked like you couldn't wait to get the fuck out of there. Even like you said, it was your type of people, but you looked like,
Yeah, well, I think, you know, I don't want to harp back in my day, but I just think the whole expos have changed a lot too from when it was back in my day. It was more the bodybuilding fans, the hardcore fans, but now it's so open to different sports, and now you have these influencers, you know, YouTubers, that it's a whole different crowd and different people. So before it's like, oh, you're looking great, you're looking this, and now you get those little skinny cunts that come by and go, oh, fucking steroids, you know, he's only big because of steroids and shit. Whereas before, no one even gave a shit because they knew you took steroids, so who cared? But now these little influencers that just go on there to get fucking likes and show their abs and shit, fucking steroids, and fuck off.
It's completely different now. So, like you said, you've been coping well in isolation, but I've seen on your social media, you've been ranting about a few things that obviously have been pissing you off. It's pretty. What did I see? The McDonald's one? No, the McDonald's one. There was one of the McDonald's where you just lost your shit. Something about their advertising no contact drive-through.
Oh, yeah. Well, the thing is, what I do it in fun, because it's always in fun, because, you know, I get a lot of people saying I should be a stand-up comedian, but I don't know if I go that far. We'll get into Generation Iron, but when Generation Iron filmed my documentary, you know Craig from Generation Iron?
I don't know Craig personally. I got contacted by one.
Well, you've seen him, you know, he's like a fucking wannabe rapper-looking guy, you know, with the fucking glasses and shit on and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, but he always said when I went back to the States, he was going to promote me doing like a stand-up tour, and I said, stand-up comedy would be hard, but I just like to tell stories and make the stories fun. But it's amazing when I do tell stories, people think I'm mad or going crazy or I'm actually serious. But, you know, Australian sarcasm, Australians like being cunts to other people and stuff like that. But sometimes I don't think the Americans quite get the Australian sense of humour. So, yeah, I was going on about the McDonald's, because every time I was watching TV, it must have came on 10 times in a row. Contactless drive-through. I'm like, well, it's always been fucking contactless drive-through. I said, I can't remember the last time, you know, I put my fucking foot through the window and she started giving me a fucking foot rub last time I pulled up. It's always been, you give your fucking order at the speaker, you move along, they put the card thing out, you go beep, and next thing they pass it out the window. It's not like you drive down, excuse me, can you wait in parking bay 1? And while you're in parking bay 1, you're getting a fucking shih tzu massage from someone in fucking McDonald's while I'm waiting for my order to come through. It's like, it's always been fucking contactless. It's like, what the fuck's the difference? What's changed?
It's funny. I only saw that ad after I saw your rant, and then I looked at it. I'm like, yeah, this is what he was going on about.
But it's so funny because there's nothing worse. The worst than the drive-through McDonald's is when Now, I'm sure this has happened to you too. Have you ever been into McDonald's? Well, I'm sure you have. But you know they've always got the double menus up on the fucking wall. And it's like hamburger, depends what time you go in the morning, of course. If it's morning, it's breakfast menu. Say it just said hamburger, cheeseburger, Big Mac, fillet of fish, fries and that. Then over here, hamburger, Big Mac, it's the same because, they have a couple of lines, so it's the same fucking menus. You ever get stuck behind that cunt that just stands there like this? He's like,
You're looking at the different boards.
It's the same menu, you bloody prick. Or then you get the one where the mother wants to teach her kid how to order. So what do you want, son or daughter? We'll have the nuggets. Nuggets. Okay, nuggets? Okay. We'll have nuggets. No. What? Not nuggets? No, okay. Gee, kids' milk. Can you cancel the nuggets? Kids' meal. No, Mum, no. What? Now it's like, just fucking order for the kids. It's like, go play shop another day, you fucking dickheads. All I want to do is just get my meal and sit down.
I couldn't imagine lining up in front of you at Macca's. Fuck, you did.
I just find all the funniness in everything. It's like, it's like even I did a thing once on about, I know you just had a baby boy and that, but I've had these friends that have baby girls and I got to sit there and listen to them going about, no one's going to touch my daughter. I'm like, come on now. She's going to have sex over my dead body, blah, blah, blah. If she brings a boyfriend home, she's not going to get married till she's 21.
Everyone says the same thing. Everyone says the same thing.
Calm the testosterone down. Look, just get it over with now. Just in your mind, picture your daughter getting laid. It's going to fucking happen. Just get over and done with. And they're like, that'll never happen. I say, okay, let's back it up a bit. I said, you've got a daughter now. Let's move ahead a few years. She's not a little girl. She's 15. I said, now go back to your teenage days. You were banging someone's teenage fucking daughter. That father's sitting at home going, no one's going to bang my daughter. No one's going to bang my daughter. And guess what? You're fucking her. So it's called karma, mate. It's going to fucking come around. Whatever you did when you were a teenager, someone's going to be lined up with your fucking daughter. Like, yes. It's different when the shoe's on the other foot now, isn't it?
You've only got the one daughter, yeah?
Yeah, she's 29 now.
Tell me the first time she brought a bloke home. How did you? Well, how old was she for starters, and how did you act?
Well, the thing is, I was living in America, and the first time we had that talk, it was like, she'll kill me for saying it, but I think I've said it before on RX interview. It was like we had a phone call thing, and she was talking about. I said, she was dating the boy at the time. I said, well, how is such and such? I'm not dating him anymore. I'm like, oh, what happened? I don't want to talk about it. So we just talked about stuff in general because I was living in Arizona. She was in Sydney, and then it came up again. Well, he just used me for sex. I'm like, what? I said, you're 13. What do you mean he just used you for sex? Well, we're at a party. We got drunk. I said, how are you getting drunk at a party at 13 years old and stuff? Well, his friends went away, this and that, and this sort of stuff. And then something happened. I said, well, look, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. I can't, I had sex at 13 because I was dating an 18-year-old when I was young. So I just said, well, I guess you are my daughter, so it's going to happen. So as long as you use protection, then somehow it come up where she said, like, well, I've only had sex once, but I've been licked out twice and fingered once. I'm like, oh, okay,
She went into detail.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to handle that. Not a chance.
Well, you are my daughter. See, that's the difference. If your daughter says it, guys go, oh, my God. If it was your son saying, hey, Dad, I just banged a few chicks, you'd be like, all right, son.
Look, I probably would
be like, hey, you got the photos? You got the photos on your phone, son? Give us a look. Dad.
I know my missus is going to be heaps protective of him. Now, I already mentioned about him bringing girls home. I don't know what joke I made, but I talked about all the girls he's going to bring home.
Well, she finally did come to the States, so this was the thing. I was living in this nice apartment complex. She'd go down by the pool and the American boys would be down there. One time she brought this guy back up to the apartment and I was just sitting there and they're on the couch and they're like, we're going to go in the bedroom. I said, what are you going in the bedroom for? They're like, nothing.
Are they living with you at this point?
Well, she was, yeah.
Yeah.
But he wasn't. He was just the guy she met.
Yeah.
So I just looked at him and said, listen, if my daughter comes out of there and says that, you didn't fuck her properly, I'll come in there and show you how to do it. And he's just like, I just said that to him straight face. Now, in his mind, I can see he's thinking, he's going to come in there and show me how to do it. What, with me or her? I was like, so he's just like fucked up. So they went to the bedroom. They were in there for like an hour or two. They came out. I said, so what happened? Did he try and fix? She goes, he just sat on the end of the bed so fucking scared he didn't move.
I would have been so creeped out. If any of my girlfriends at that age, if their dad had said something like that, I would have walked straight out of the house. See you later. This is fucked. That's all sorts of fucked up.
Fucking with him and that stuff. And eventually, I guess she must have slept with someone because I remember, I think she was 16 at the time then, but all I remember was saying, Dad, these American guys can't fuck.
She said this?
Yeah, so I guess,
she is going to kill you if she watches this.
Oh, I've said it before. She loves me. So, she's 29 now. She's been in the fitness industry. I'm sure, she's had her fair share of this and that. So what can you do?
At least you're honest. At least you're a realist.
That's right. You're
not in denial.
How can you say that? Like, look, when she told me at a young age she had sex, at least she's honest with me. I'd rather have a child that could come to me and tell me the honest truth rather than lie about it or go somewhere and practice unsafe sex somewhere else and come home and say I'm pregnant or come home and say they got a disease. I'd rather be able to have that open relationship where you can talk about anything. And I was the same way with my mother. How's this for a scary side? I've told this before. My mum hates when I tell it. But when waxing first come out, you know how you get the waxing, the girls put a little bit of wax on, then they rip it off.
I can kind of see where this is going, yeah.
Well, I come home from school one day and this waxing craze had just come out. And here's my mother sitting on the linoleum kitchen floor, stuck to it, naked, with both legs covered in wax. I'm like, what the fuck
so she was doing it herself?
Yeah, just sitting in the kitchen, because it just come out, so no one really knew about it. But instead of putting a little bit on, just like, a little bit, and you tear it off, she had melted the whole lot of the wax and covered every inch of her legs.
Please don't tell me she asked you to rip it off.
No, she didn't actually. She went into the bathroom and had to do it herself, and all I heard was just screaming and shit. When she come out, all her legs were fucking bleeding and stuff like that. Yeah, rather than just put a little bit on, her legs were just like covered in honey, just like wax. And because it had set hard, she couldn't get off, so she had to sit in the burning hot bath to try and to soften it and fucking rip it off. And that was like I saw that coming in from school, and they wonder why I got fucking issues. Jesus Christ. Seeing your mum naked, stuck to a linoleum floor covered in wax can do it to you.
The funniest part about this now, and I'm just thinking, my in-laws have been watching the podcast since being in isolation. Obviously, they can't leave the house. I had my missus's mum message me saying, something about seeing the shows and blah, 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 and they're pretty dedicated Christians. So once they watch this...
Don't bring up me in religion now. That would really. They'll be praying for me by the time I'm finished.
Let's talk about your life lessons. So you mentioned before that you've been posting a few life lessons on social media.
It was even like the first one. I think I came up with washing the hands. Because someone sent me to a video where it had Kai Green had a fucking video of washing his hands, and he actually had a doctor there, like a fucking doctor, whatever / fucking whoever, dermatologist, showing the proper way to wash your hands. And I'm like, this is so good, isn't it? Learning how to wash our fucking hands. Why didn't my mother ever teach me this when I was 3 or 4? Then I'm like, wait a minute, she fucking did. Why the fuck are us adults now learning how to wash our fucking hands? It's like, you don't know how to wash your hands and shit. Come on.
How many people don't wash their hands properly? Let's be realistic.
Oh, they don't. Well, I've seen it before. You go to a bodybuilding expo, you go to just a mall. How many times you walk out of a toilet in the mall, you'll go wash your hands, you see a guy just taking a piss and walk straight out.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And you're like, fucking hell, it's gross. But I think we know how to. It's just that people are just too lazy to. Like, if I'm at home, sometimes if I take a quick piss, I might not wash it at home because I'm at home. I'm not going to go shake anyone's hand. I'm not going to meet anyone. I've been at expos where there'll be a guy taking a piss at the urinal. I'll walk in. He goes, Lee Priest. I'm like, what the fuck?
You want to shake your hand right there while you're right next to him.
He'll let go of his dick and go to shake my hand. I don't normally go to the urinal because every time you go there, just stand there. And then I've had guys take pictures from the back of you like this, standing at the urinal, and I'll pop up somewhere online. I'm taking a picture there, I'm taking a piss. So I think, I just go in the cubicle, I shut the door. And that's the worst thing too. So you go in there for privacy, you get some cunt standing outside the door. So when I'm dieting, do you think I should take this much protein? I'm like, just let me go to the toilet in peace, you fucking dickhead. It's like I'm not giving a fucking urinal toilet seminar, but no, some of the people just ask you questions and stand in the toilet taking photos. I'm like, really?
Man, I've seen that plenty of times. What was I going to say? We want to talk about the Generation Iron thing, but I want to leave that to the end. But I know that you've been posting a lot about all your conspiracy theories related to this whole bullshit that's happening. Look, when I post I share a bit of shit. You've shared a bit of my shit. And a lot of the times I'm posting shit just to not cause drama, but just to take the piss. I don't know whether or not you're fully invested in it though. I reckon you were fully invested in the whole 5G thing.
Now, when it comes to it, I keep an open mind. Like, you've seen that David Icke fella and different stuff like that. I've watched some of their things where that David Icke, he's been doing it for 30 odd years, where he talks about, how there's the bigger people that run the world, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds and shit. And he's really been into all this shit with Bill Gates and the vaccines and the chips. So I've always, oh, look at that sound. Yeah, so, I've always been, so I keep an open mind, but to me it's like, okay, because they've even said there's no test for COVID-19. Yes, there is a coronavirus, but, there's so many coronaviruses that are already being discovered. So when they say you tested positive for coronavirus, well, this doctors even come out saying we could all carry it. It's like if you've ever had herpes, if you get a blood test, it'll show you got herpes, but you might not have the symptoms of herpes, but it's still in your body. So a lot of people can still get tested and have coronavirus in their body, but just not even have the symptoms for it. And then people go, well, Lee, you're such a dickhead. This is this disease doesn't discriminate. I'm like, well, it really does, because young kids aren't really dropping dead. Teenagers aren't dropping dead. Healthy people aren't dropping dead. It's just people that already got some sort of condition or bad immune systems, or they're old. Someone got mad at me the other day because I think it was patient fucking, say, 26 died in a nursing home. Okay, it's someone's mother. She was 95. And I made a comment, oh, fucking gone too soon. She had a whole life ahead of her. Imagine what she could have done with her life. Like, you fucking asshole, Lee. I'm like, come on, she's 95. It's like, come on. She would have died of something anyway. The common cold would have fucking killed her.
Yeah, whether or not it was something else in the first place anyway. And then she just
my mother, my mother used to be a nurse, and just right around the corner from her place is a nursing home where my grandmother stayed before she passed away, so she could go see her every day. So my mum knows a lot of the nurses there, and they're even pissed off because these people who are in lockdown complaining, I can't go see my grandmother, I can't go see my mother. They don't fucking come visit them anyway. It's like now all of a sudden we can't go see them. It's like, you never came anyway. And all these people are like, oh, Easter, we can't go visit our family. Come on, no one likes visiting their family at Easter or Christmas. You fucking hate it. This was the best thing ever. You didn't have to buy Easter eggs. You didn't have to sit through shitty fucking family dinners and shit and just talk bullshit. So everyone liked it. Then you got the other pricks that, how many people work? I hate going to work. I wish I didn't have to work. I hate my job. Now you get to stay home. The government's giving you $1,500 a fucking fortnight, and you're still bloody complaining. So
yeah, you'll be claiming that. Are you claiming the $1,500?
I should, shouldn't I? I can make up some bullshit. I'm a personal trainer, and our gyms are shut. I can't.
Well, I know. Well, unless you're employed by someone, I guess you could do it as a sole trader. You can do it.
I'm still doing okay with my sponsors and stuff. So no,
I
do know people that are doing it. But
100%. There'll be plenty, especially out your way.
And that's the thing too. They're like, what are you saying, my way? Newcastle's a respectable city. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll talk about
and that's
that
the thing, though. But where I do live near Mayfield East here, where I sometimes used to go to the Anytime, but now it's closed. There's Anytime Fitness. There's McDonald's. Across the road from McDonald's is Centrelink, and then there's Woolworths and the Bottle Shop. So it's almost like the fucking Bermuda Triangle. When all these stores are open, you ought to see the people that come in there. I mean, they're whacked off their fucking head. And now these old bludgers are getting double the payments. Fuck, they're fucking
That makes
drunk.
sense, doesn't it?
Oh, but that's the thing, they're on the news saying drinking's gone up 30%. I'm sure maybe a couple more people, because they're not at work, are having a few more drinks. But if you're going to give double the payments to people who make a career out of being on the dole, who drink a lot, you don't think they're going to buy more drink with double the payments? It's like, come on.
Some bloke on TV, I don't know if it was on social media or on TV, but talking about, what did you spend your first payment on? He said, I just went and just stocked up on alcohol. He's not stupid.
Exactly. And here's another thing about this thing. Okay, there's a coronavirus. Yes, we know, Lee. They have to tell me, Lee, you're a fucking idiot if you don't believe it. All these dickheads, you're the problem if you go outside. You should stay inside, locked down. I'm like, oh, piss off, dickheads. It's like, if this disease was so bad, I think I just even commented on your thing about it. I said, if I was covered in blood and said I had AIDS, you wouldn't come near me. Or if I said I had Ebola, it is a good disease to be under lockdown, because it's 50-50 if you're going to fucking die if you get that shit, and that will kill anyone. But here's this guy, he came out of the water at Bondi swimming, and the police tried to have a go at him. Next, they're fucking wrestling him on the ground and shit. I'm thinking, now, if that disease was that bad, you wouldn't go fucking touching someone and rolling around.
You wouldn't be standing that close to him in the first place.
And then it was like social distancing. But then a couple of weeks ago, dickhead Palaszczuk in Queensland, you must go out and vote. If you don't vote, you'll get fines. So 2 million people go out and vote. Then you had those two dickheads in line that was on the news. You're too close to me. Fuck you. Get back. You get back. Next thing, they're on the ground fucking rolling around. A second ago, you're complaining you're too close, and now you're almost close enough to put your dick up his arse. You're on top of him on the ground, for God's sake.
It's the inconsistencies. You don't strike me as the type of person that'll be downloading that app, the tracking app.
No, really, if you go by all the shit you got on your phone anyway, they can pretty much track you anyway. If you got maps or Waze or on my I know on Facebook and all those other things, I always turn off location, but really they can go by phone calls, pinging from towers. I've watched those FBI TV shows. I know what's up.
Well, a lot of people are paranoid about it, but it doesn't even it doesn't send your location to anyone. It just stores on your phone, so you can switch your location off. But
the thing I don't like is too about that app, which okay would be a good thing, but it says you got to be near that person for 15 minutes before you get the warning. And I'm thinking, who the hell's going to be around a group of people or somewhere for 15 minutes because you're meant to keep moving?
Well, it doesn't record it. It'll only record it if you're near someone for more than 15 minutes. Like you said,
but I'm thinking, well, that's stupid. Why can't it be like Tinder, where Tinder, it can be like you push the button and it says, who's near me? And it tells you straight away who's in your location. You know, it's like, why couldn't it be like that? So if you go into a grocery store, aisle 7, who the fucking hell's got corona? I'll push the button. Oh, you need a biscuit, you prick, piss off. You know, you got coronavirus.
That's probably more an invasion of privacy if you think about it.
Wait in 15 minutes. Come on, I could have been all standing there for 10 minutes and gone and got the disease. So, by the way, too, I've used the word fuck enough. Your in-laws have gone, so you can talk how freely now if you want, for sure.
They've had a heart attack by far. Yeah, they're 100%. They're gone. They've logged off, so we can talk about whatever you want now. Let's talk about Generation 9. So I haven't done my background research on this because I wanted to hear it straight from the horse's mouth. So I've noticed you post a new thing. What did you call it? It was basically boycotting them, but you called it something. What did you call it?
Order 66. That's from Star Wars, where they just Order 66, and people just fucking spam them and fucking everyone. Like I've had hundreds of people saying, "We've done it, Lee. We've been blocked. We've been banned."
You've done that a few times.
But if we go back to the beginning, this all stemmed from when they did my documentary. And people like, Lee, you worked with me. You know, Craig come over. He was here for 5 or 6 days, did the documentary, and the contract. I signed the contract. I knew that, but in the different parts of the contract, they said, before this documentary comes out, we'll give you final say. You know, we'll show you the documentary, you know, rough version of it, a little bit unedited, but just to see how you like it. I said, well, okay, when it gets to that stage, we'll do it. So they sent me it. And from day one, I said, I hate the name, Lee versus bodybuilding. I'm like, what the fuck's that? You know, my whole life wasn't versus bodybuilding. And then it came to the contest through the whole documentary. They didn't have one pro win. It was always Lee Priest second at the Ironman, Lee Priest second at this, Lee Priest this. They didn't have... The only show they showed me winning was the Universe. And then it was like Kurt Miller, who lived with me for 10 years, come to Australia. You know, Paul Dillette. There was Mark Savado, my manager. Mike Yablon, who used to work the gym at Gold's, the front desk at Gold's Gym, lived with me. There was Samir Banu. There was like so many people that knew me personally, that lived with me, that trained with me. My 2 training partners here that I trained with for 8 years, they interviewed them. And when it comes out, they're not on it. I'm like, you put Jay Cutler on it, who I know Jay is to say hi, Jay at Expo, talk, chit-chat, but these people that know me intimately, you haven't got them on the DVD. Well, Lee, I'll talk to the Ed, let's see if we can. I said, well, what was the point of me giving you their names and you interviewing some of them and you don't put them in it? I said, you still got plenty of time. He comes back, no, we can't put them into Edler said it's too late. I said, well, I hate the fucking movie. So from that point on, they blocked me on Instagram. They blocked me
Are they still going to release it?
It's been released, yeah.
Oh, it's been released.
Yeah, but I just never pushed it as much because I wasn't happy with it.
Where can you watch it?
I think...
Because most of their stuff's on Netflix and that.
I think it was on Vimeo or one of those, Amazons, or... It's on one of those things, yeah, but you can find it. So, yeah, I watch it. And, like, some people like it a bit, but when I did it, I wanted to be from telling the... Like, you've seen Cormier's, haven't you?
Not yet, no.
Well, Cormier's is probably the best I've seen, and I've been speaking to Gary and that, and they actually want to probably do another one on me, which will be good because that way you could interview people who actually know you and have been with you through your life. So,
but Cormier's wasn't a Generation Iron one, was it?
No. Okay. I think Gary Phillips and the guy Darren from Hobart did that.
Darren Petty, I think.
Yeah, they did it. They did a really good job. Like it shows Chris with his training, his contest, the dark side he went through with his drug use and stuff, and how his back operation thing when he got that back infection almost killed him, and just showed everything. It's just so open and raw. It was really good. It's probably, like I said, the best one I've seen since Pumping Iron. And, you know, I remember back in the day when Vlad was bringing out the Generation Iron movie, you know, they said it was going to be the next Pumping Iron. It was going to be this. And I said it was shit. I said it was crap and everything like that. Then he came on live with me once and he goes, Lee, I heard you didn't like my movie. I said, no, it was fucking shit. You know, he probably thought I was going to backpedal because I was on live with him. I said, no, it was crap. I said, you said it was going to be the next Pumping Iron. It wasn't like that at all. And I know Branch wasn't happy with that part where they spooked his horse because he told him, don't come near the horse, you're going to spook it.
Oh, so they actually spooked it?
Yeah, he told him.
I'm not going to lie, that was my favourite part of the movie. I lost my shit laughing.
I know, but the thing was, he told him, don't do that. He said, don't come near the horse, you'll get spooked. And then when it did happen, he didn't want that part in the movie, but yet they put it in the movie. So,
as if you're a director, you have that footage, you're not going to put that in. You would have put
Yeah,
it in.
but when you think about it, like you said, we've seen people get fucking injured coming off horses. Christopher Reeve broke his fucking neck off a horse.
That's right, yeah.
Being a bodybuilder, you get injured. That's why I like motorbikes, but I wouldn't ride one in my competitive days because if you come off, that's it, career over pretty much.
I can understand why he would have been pissed off, but
so it's just been going on from there. But then every time they have somebody on for some reason, so what do you think of Lee Priest? Then he hested us, and then it's only like a couple of weeks ago they had Ciccarello on, and Lee Priest tried to start a union, and Bob's like, no, that Lee Priest is a clown. He's this, he's that, blah, blah, blah. He didn't try to do anything. And I just put up that video from that press conference where I was having that discussion with Wayne Demilia. Wayne says, put it in writing. So I stood up and handed him the letter at the press conference. And from that day, every athlete got $2,000. And then 15 minutes later on the same press conference, here comes Sean and Bob. And here we have the biggest show and the athletes aren't getting paid. And Wayne's like, oh, we've discussed this already. What do you mean? He's like, Lee, give me a letter. That was 15 minutes ago. You two weren't here.
Is that at the same press conference? Because you posted only a small snippet and I shared it on the Muscle Asylum page.
Yeah, well, I think it goes all on. I think it's around, if you get the whole one, it's about the 14-minute mark where Bob and Sean come to the microphone and they mention it. And Wayne's like, we dealt with that. You two weren't here already. So
did you have that discussion with any of the other pros? Like, was that obviously that was a little bit before my era? But
no, I never discussed with the other pros. But what I did here was like, I just didn't like seeing the other pros not getting paid because, yes, I was in the top 10, whether it be 6th or 5th or 7th or 8th, and I got money. And I just hated them always calling it the Super Bowl of bodybuilding. Because that's why I said, if we go to the Arnold Classic, everyone that competed at the Arnold Classic got $1,000. Here you got this show that says the Mr. Olympia. Okay, if I get 6th, 7th, 8th, I get money. But the guy that come 15th, he busted his ass just like me. So why doesn't he get $1 or $2? You just can't have him pay his own way that he showed that he qualified for and everything to be there and not get a cent. So I just brought it up because I always hear the athletes saying it wasn't fair. And when Bob says, Lee didn't try to start a union, I said, that's right, I didn't. All I wanted were the guys to stand together. You can call it a union or just unionise and just stand up because you'd hear guys backstage, oh, this is fucked, that's fucked. And I understand promoters had to make money. All I wanted was the promoters to give the bodybuilders a bit of respect and, get a bit of give and take. So I said to the guys, rather than complain all the time, I said, you got the perfect opportunity before any contest, the Arnold Classic, the Mr. Olympia, any show, we always have that athletes meeting. If you're unhappy with stuff, bring it up there, tell them and say, listen, until this gets changed, none of us are walking on stage tomorrow. Now, could you imagine the Mr. Olympia if every athlete said, we're not walking on stage tomorrow? You've got all the sponsors there. People have come from all over the world. They're going to listen to what you got to say because they're not going to cancel the bloody show. So I said, all you athletes have the power. And then I'd do those interviews in magazines where I talk about the politics in the sport. They'd come up to me and go, Lee, we agree with what you're saying. I said, then why don't you do something? Oh, no, I could lose my sponsorship. I said, yeah, like, look at me. If I do it, I'm the bad boy. I get suspended. That sort of scares everybody. But then, if we all stood together, enough would happen. And that's the thing, I had so many arguments with Wayne Demilia. And then when he started at PDI, I feel like, well, why would you go with him? I said, because the 2002 San Francisco that we had that meeting, like the athletes meeting, I'm always early because I hate being late. So I just happened to get there early with Kathy I was married to at the time. And Wayne comes in and he just throws the MD on the table where I did a big article about the politics in the sport and how this one judge was sleeping with competitors and stuff. And she used to say, I don't care how such and such looks, always put him first because he's cute. He goes, did you do this article? I said, yeah. He goes, why? I said, well, it's true. And he goes, yeah, it's true, but you shouldn't. And in 10 minutes, we're having this big fucking yelling match. And then the other competitors started coming in, so I quietened off. And I just said to Kathy, I'm fucked tomorrow. I'm not going to do well at all. Come the next day, I won the show. And when I was backstage before I left, Wayne comes over. He goes, congratulations. Are you surprised you won? I said, well, after our big argument, I didn't think I was even going to place. He's like, Leo, they could try. He goes, but I do respect you. He goes, you do have the balls to stand up and say what you want. And then he says, you ask me why I do what I do. He goes, because I know that if I say do this and do that, yeah, you might complain, but the other 100 guys are going to do exactly what I say. So why should I change anything? So at least he was honest about it.
What's your thoughts of Wayne Demilia as a promoter? Because I just watched that interview with him with, I can't remember who it was with, that guy. It would go about
Patrick David.
That's it, yeah.
I was actually meant to do an interview with him in May because I was meant to be going over in May for the Hall of Fame Venice Beach Award I'm getting, but now due to the lockdown and the flight's not going, they got the plaque made up for the beach. But well, you know who I beat out for that too? You might get upset if I tell you. Sean Ray. I beat Sean Ray for that, so there's another thing you can hate.
For the interview?
No, for the Hall of Fame down at Muscle Beach on the Walk of Fame. You know, where they put that bronze plaque on Muscle Beach with your name on it and shit.
Yeah.
I think that'd be great in 50 years' time. People come walking past and go, "Who the fuck's Lee Priest?"
What are your thoughts? You brought him up. What are your thoughts of Dexter's beef with him?
Oh, well, shit, whatever Dexter said, I totally agree. But I've been saying that for over 10, 15, 12 years. That's why I put up that little meme someone sent me where it's like, Lee Priest says this about Sean Ray, nothing, then Dexter says it, and people go crazy with the Joker's face.
Did you bring up the toupee? Because that's where...
I brought that up. I brought that up years ago. Then there was also a video I brought up of him where, remember he used to get ready for the contest. There was a video that Mitsuru used to do those Battle for the Olympias. And before he was going on stage, Sean Ray was in the mirror and Mitz walks in. He's like this and he's putting fucking mascara on his eyelashes before he fucking goes out and shit. So, yeah, it's like all that stuff and the bit about the 2-inch thing. I don't know the exact inches, but, Paul Dillett would always say to me that Sean Ray, he's not black. He goes, I've seen him naked. He's an embarrassment to the black people, that guy. So, it's like... But the thing with Sean is, this is the thing too, people go, Lee, you're so negative on Sean. I've always said as a bodybuilder, fantastic. You can't knock the guy when it comes to a bodybuilder, but as a human being, he's an arsehole. But, I get called arsehole too, but I'm a lovable arsehole. Sean's just a flat-out cunt. But, it's just like, and the thing with Sean is that Sean, Bob, anyone, you'll be very hard-pressed to find the video of me just coming on. Like if you interview me now and I just say, wait a minute, Mark. You know what? Bob Ciccarello, he's a fucking arsehole. Every time I go off at someone, it's because someone's either sent me a message, look what such and such said about you, Lee, or sent me a video like Bob on Generation 9, and then the last one they put up of my mother, that's explaining why I'm a bully because my father was gay, so that's what turned me into a bully. So it was like, I just reply to people. If they're going to, make a comment or say something about me, I just reply back. So
how did they drag your mother into that? Because I saw that letter, I didn't read the whole letter.
Well, she did. Well, they tried to make it like breaking news, but you can go back to the early 90s. Whenever I'd done interviews, I'd talk about my life, my father being gay, but it didn't bother me because when my mum told me I was about 8 or 9, and I think my father now has been with his partner for about 35 years plus, so he's been the same guy. And when she told me, it's like, yeah, okay, whatever. He's still my dad. Next weekend I go to visit him. And it's like I said in one of my interviews, I said, my father being gay, I had a cousin that was a transsexual, so having these different people around me actually taught me to accept people more, whether they were gay, straight, black, white, it didn't matter because these people I met through my father, they were some of the nicest, down-to-earth, loving people you'd ever meet. Even the transsexuals would come to my grandparents' house for dinner and that with my cousin. Some of the most funniest, down-to-earth people you'd ever meet. So I never judged anybody. So they tried to say when my mother said, because a couple of kids at school when I was younger was going, oh, you're going to be a faggot like your father. This is what made me the person I am today, this big, bad bully and stuff. So that's why my mum wrote that big reply back to him that I put up. So,
do you still keep in contact with your old man?
Yeah. I see him regularly. Yeah.
What about your mother though? Do you not get along with your mother, or is that why she wrote that?
Yeah. No, we're really close. My mum.
Oh, okay. So why would they try and? So did they try and use that letter against you? In that
no, not the letter. Not the letter. The reply my mother wrote was to Generation 9 because Generation 9. Just that snippet they used was from my documentary where they're just talking about my life in general and how at a younger age I found out my father was gay and stuff like that. It was about 4 actually when I found out, or when they divorced, because back in that day, this is for your in-laws, my mother and father went to church and he had a rough idea he was gay, but the church can change you and make you straight and happy. So they tried it, but didn't work. So after 4 years, my sister was born and I was born. I used to always joke around my father saying, it's a good thing you did meet my mother because if you didn't, could you imagine Lee Priest could have been wasted as a blowjob or squirted over someone's back? It's like, what the fuck, So
you say this to him.
And then they tried to say too, it was a thing about, and Lee's father disowned him because he changed his name. And, my father did get upset by that because when I was competing, my mother got remarried and my stepfather was Len Priest. So Priest is easy to say. When I'd have McCutcheon or something, you'd get on stage, people go, Lee I'm like, oh, fucking hell, McCutcheon. So I just said, I'll use Priest. Everything legally, my license, passport is still McCutcheon, but because I changed it to Priest, that upset him because he was proud of me. And if he went to work or something, goes, this is my son, and it would show people at work, they go, well, Lee Priest, well, why is his name Priest if it's McCutcheon? So they wouldn't believe him. So he sort of disowned me for a couple of years just due to it upsetting him and stuff. But, after that, when we spoke, it was all fine again and never had a problem since. So it's just, Generation 9 trying to get views, get likes. And before when they'd say some garbage, I'd share it. Then I'd see all the views I was getting. So I thought, fuck this, not going to share it anymore. But these ones, I said, I'll share them a little bit just because every comment generally is just hate towards Vlad and that. And, you know, in the beginning, like I said, when Generation 9 started their first documentary, they could have gone in a great direction. It could have been something great, but then they just went, when they started putting all these people on that were nobodies. And then let's not even get into the Tony Huge documentaries, for fuck's sake. Have you seen any of them? Have you seen Enhance?
I watched, obviously, the first generation film that came out. I don't know, watched the next one maybe. I think the last one I tried to watch was the Callum von Moger one, but it was pretty boring. Like, look, I like Callum, he's a good bloke and everything, but it was just a boring documentary.
Yeah, actually, I didn't mind that one because, you know, I've met Callum once when I had my supplement company. He was dating a girl who was into photo shoot, and I met him then. This was way back early 08, maybe 09, before he wasn't even really into the whole sport. He was just dating this girl that was into it. And I didn't know much of him. And then I'd always see the silly stuff he done, so I might have made a funny comment about him. People think, oh, you must hate him. I said, no, I don't hate him. I just have fun with the shit he does. You know, he's riding something and he gets injured. I'm like, oh, what a dickhead. Or what do you hate him for? I'm like, I don't hate him. I'm just making fun of the shit he does. And when I saw his documentary, I actually said I really enjoyed it because it gave me a bit more insight into him and stuff like that. He's just one of those guys that does what he wants to do and has fun doing it. But no, these enhanced ones with Tony Huge, of course. But the second one's got to be the worst movie I've ever seen, where him and his mates would be like, say, there was Tony Huge, another guy and a girl. So it'd be like me, you, and then your missus, and we all stand in a circle and we all give each other our injections. So I'm injecting you, you're injecting your missus, and your missus is injecting me. Now, this is all on the video. And then after their training, they go to this sushi restaurant. Okay, don't let the waitress see. And they pull out their syringes of insulin and stuff, and they start taking insulin while they're in the restaurants. He goes, well, why can't I do this? It's like if someone's a diabetic, they can do it, so why can't I do it for muscle growth? Like, the whole movie is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. And then it's almost like, you know, when somebody... I liken Vlad to like a movie critic. It's almost like these movie critics where you'll have a great movie or a great actor, but all they do is trash the movie, they trash the actor. That's like Vlad. It's almost like he's failed at sports or failed at bodybuilding, that he just wants to trash the sport but yet make money from it. So I just don't get the whole thing. So
how did they approach you? Did they obviously approach you, say, we want to do this documentary, sign a contract saying that we can edit it in any way that we can without your input, or how did it work?
No, it said I'd have final say in the contract. That's what pissed me off, why I didn't go along with it towards the end. I still got it somewhere, the contract. I'm sure I do if I find it. But yeah, it said, you know, before it's done, the final cut, I'll get to see it and then, you know, discuss before it finally comes out what we could change. But then even I was having arguments with Craig, because Craig I got on great when we were here and stuff. And so like I said, he wanted to, Lee, when you come back to the States, we've got to organise a stand-up comedy thing for you to do and stuff. So we got on great, but then we started arguing over the phone when he went back, because I said, look, this has to be in. I said, these are my training partners. How can you not put my training partners in it? But then you put in a bit with Jay Cutler where Jay doesn't know me, and Jay's talking about, well, Lee's selling off his trophies. He must be hard up for money, this and that. But then he comes on later, well, they are his trophies. He can do what he wants. And I've told people before, you know, Sean Ray came out saying, oh, Lee must be broke. He's living in a dumpster or living at the warehouse in Sydney where I go to Sam's Fitness to film those videos, and I make jokes about I work there. And actually some idiots like him believe it. So I did that video at the back of the gym where it had that big dumpster. I said, well, this is my house and I'm going to move into this one. I had the 2 trolleys as my cars and stuff. So if they're going to be like, I just fuck with them and go along with it. But the whole thing was just like so ridiculous that, yeah, I don't know. It's like when they said they couldn't edit this in and edit that in, I'm like, well, that's not really my story then, is it? It's like you're trying to tell my whole life in 1:24. You got these other people, I think Callum's went for 1:40 or more and stuff like that. So even if you just get a couple of minutes in, there's one guy, Rich, he used to go to high school with me. He's left and he started this big construction company, multi-millionaire, owns a great gym up here. I sometimes train at, and he does stuff for a lot of the local kids who are underprivileged, you know, pays for all their footy training stuff and clothes and equipment. So we did a nice thing with him. They left that out of it. So there's so many things left out. I said, even if you just put 3 minutes, in 3 minutes, you can sort of get a glimpse of my life from other people. But all that stuff was just left out. So I just said, I'm not happy with it. And we were going back and forth on it. And I just went, fuck it. I'm not even going to worry about even pushing it. If people want to look at it, they can. If they don't, they don't.
Well, if you're not promoting it, then no one's going to know about it, because I haven't even heard about it until you spoke about your beef with Generation 9. But that makes no sense to me. If I want to know Lee Priest and the life of Lee Priest, I want to know the truth about the life of Lee Priest.
And that's how the whole thing with Jay Cutler when he was talking about my trophies. I said, No, the reason I sold my trophies was if I swung my camera around now, I don't think I can, but I got boxes over here, but there's more out in the garage where I can see shit. When it's sitting on top of some, there's a People's Choice Award from the Iron Man and stuff, but in them I wouldn't even have a clue because when I was in the States, all my trophies are in boxes at like a Storage King. I fly them all home, some get broken, but as soon as I get home in 08 till like, when did I start selling them? 2 years ago, so almost another 10 years, they're in boxes in a storage shed. I'm like, look, every time I move, I got to keep taking this shit with me. They're in a box. So I used to get people all the time, Lee, you got anything you can sell? I said, well, I got some trophies here. And because I've done work with the RSPCA and stuff and all like shelter animals, all the money I get from the trophies I sell and stuff, I just donate to the RSPCA to buy pet food or whatever for the animals and stuff, you know.
Well, people are always going to talk shit.
I know. But the thing was, when I've sold them, I've got photos and emails from the people that buy them. I think Nick's Strength of Power brought my first place Ironman trophy when I put it up for auction, stuff like that. So he's got that trophy. But other kids have brought said, look, here, Lee, here's your trophy. They'll have a nice little home gym. Like I said, they might be teenagers or in their early 20s. They'll have a nice little home gym. Here's your trophy, Lee, up here on the wall in our gym. It gives us inspiration. So to me, I'd rather my trophy be there inspiring them than sitting in a bloody box in a bloody Storage King warehouse.
And that makes complete sense. It makes complete sense, yeah.
People are like, oh, Lee's broke, he's selling all his shit off. I said, yeah, but I'm selling it off so it inspires people. And the money I get, I'm giving to charities like the RSPCA and stuff, or Hunter Valley, you know, the another Hunter Valley one, Pet Rescue and stuff like that to help the dogs and the animals. I said, I don't keep any of the money. So I was like, what the fuck is going on about?
To be completely honest, but at the end of the day, you shouldn't really need to be explaining yourself. Whether you want to sell it or keep it, it's your business.
That's the thing now. It's like anything. I always just felt like I've had to. It's like even when it came down from day one, when people say, Lee, what drugs do you take? And I'd tell them the exact same small amount. Oh, you fucking lying, you take more than that. I said, if I took more than that, I'd fucking tell you this is what I take, but I don't. I've always used small amounts. I did try 800 milligrams of test for a couple of weeks once, and I actually felt like shit, so I went back down to the 400. I felt great if I took sus 250, 2 mil a week. That was it. And in the beginning, too, you know, when you're starting off, you listen to somebody when it comes to stanozol, which I fucking hated because, you know, it'd always clog up in the syringe, and where you had your shot, you get this big fucking red mark and it'd be all fucking hot like you've got a fever. So then it'd be like, you got to take this once every day because it's water-based. I'm like, okay, so every second day you're like, oh, fucking hell. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to do it every second day. Okay. Then another time went on, I'm going to do it every fourth day. Then I did it every fifth day. And I didn't look any different. I looked just as good. And then I said, it come down to common sense. I was reading the bottle one day because, you know, it's veterinary. It's like, for a horse, he takes 2 mil per 100 kilos every 2 weeks. I'm like, well, if a fucking horse takes 2 mil per 100 kilos every 2 weeks, why the fuck am I taking a mil every second day for? So it just came down to common sense. So that's pretty much how I worked out my drug cycle.
You're talking about that old RWR stuff.
I think so, yeah. It's like a white and purple label type stuff.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
But many a times it would end up in the sink because, you know, when you put it in, you'd be like, okay, it's going in, then it stops, and you're like, then you have to pull it out, then it clog up, and you get a little squirt. Okay, it goes, put it back in. I just take it in and go fucking whack like that down the kitchen sink. I'm like, oh, fuck it, I'll take it one in a couple of days. I couldn't be bothered. So, yeah, it's just, there's people like, oh, you take more than this. And this is the funny thing, because I was in England doing seminars, and I'd ask people I do I'm doing, because they ask me, I say, well, what are you taking? So many young kids over there, test alone, they're on 2 to 5 grams a week a test. I'm like, where the fuck do you put this? I'm like, you know, I said, the guy you're buying off must be driving a new fucking Mercedes-Benz because the amount of gear you're buying, well, that's what you pros take. I'm like, what do you mean? I've read online. Oh, fucking hell, yeah, I've read everything online too.
The scariest part is they haven't even tried a lower dosage. So they haven't even seen how their body changes at a lower dosage. So that's why they start off on that.
I used to say that about Boston Lloyd back in the day because all the crazy amounts he would take. I said, I could guarantee if Boston came off clean for 6 months, I mean clean, not this blast and cruise. You know, people say when they're cruising, they're off it. You're still on the shit. So, you know, come off totally for 6 months and then just start at a small amount. I guarantee you're going to take and just make the same gains. I used to tell the story of this one guy come to the gym. He'd train probably 3 times a week. But, you know, when they train, it's just more, how you going? Good. Never really into it. You know, he would eat. I say, what'd you eat today? Oh, breakfast, I had a bit of toast. What'd you have for lunch? Oh, the footlong Subway sandwich. I'm like, oh, that's really good. So in his mind, he thinks he's eating a lot. But then he kept saying, I want to get on gear, bugging me. I said, no, for like 6 months. I said, okay, finally, I'll get you some fucking Dianabol. So this is like when Dianabol would come in that little bottle back in the day, like 100 tablets. So I got him some. I said, just take 1 of these a day, but I want you to train 5 days a week, and here's an eating plan. eat 5 or 6 meals. So within 3 or 4 weeks, his weight's gone up. He's fucking pushing heavier weights. He's got stronger. He's looking great. Oh, fucking, these Dynabol are great. I said, when you take him next week, I said, come into the gym, bring him with you and chew him. He brings him in, tells him, oh, fuck, these are shit. I was just giving him little fucking saccharin tablets. I said, look, you didn't even need fucking the drugs. I said, all you had to do was just eat regularly, train regularly, and you made some fucking gains.
Placebo, yeah, 100%. I know people that have taken one shot and they said, I could feel the difference straight away. Yeah, and it feels shit.
That's why I don't get when sometimes I've walked into the toilet at Anytime Fitness gym and they've got those needle things there and you look, I sometimes do just looking at the top and I see a big fucking needle in the top. I'm thinking, who the fuck's taking shots at the fucking gym? If you can't be man enough and take it at home and your wife not go off it yet, then don't fucking take the
That's
shit.
Uneducated people, though. They think that they're going to get some sort of benefit taking it right before they train.
Like a pre-workout, yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
And then they're like, well, Lee, what about side injections to make the muscle bigger? I said, if that was the case, back when I was training, every shot I had and everyone would generally take it in the glutes. I said, if that was the case, we should all have asses like Kim Kardashian if you put it into a fucking muscle and it fucking makes that muscle grow because it doesn't. I might swell it up a bit because it's inflamed.
It's
inflammation. It's not going to fucking. It's not muscle. It's like that Tony Hughes on his last enhanced one. He had 3 guinea pigs on there. Giving him that much shit after 3 days. One guy had to stop because he was almost fucking dying. After 4 days, another guy was almost dead from DNP. But he goes, Zach's done really well. In 25 days, he's put on 25 pound of lean muscle mass. I'm like, what? I'm like, what the fuck? 25 pounds is like, do you have any idea how much if you got 25 pound of chicken breast and put on the table, you ain't putting that much muscle on in less than a month. Come on.
You're talking about massive amounts of gear. What about diuretics? Because I know Wayne Demilia in that interview, he mentioned
testing for diuretics, yeah.
Well, testing for diuretics because I can't remember the name of the bodybuilder that died. I think
Mohammed
yeah. Yeah. And then he saved the life of someone else.
Paul Delet, he cramped up on stage. Matt Araza cramped up, flex up. And that's the thing, because a lot of people back then, see, when I took diuretics, I'll take the potassium-sparing ones. The only time I took Lasix was on the European tour once. And
so is that what he's talking about mostly, Lasix, you think?
I think Lasix were always the worst. They were the ones that, well, when Paul Delet cramped up on stage like an ironing board.
Yeah, and they carried him off,
Yeah, he had John Romano. It was like, he looked fantastic. I mean, he could have won that show a week before. His skin was that paper thin, massive. Just looked like cellophane wrap. You could see through it. But Paul, being Paul, figured, I just need to do something just a little bit more. All us bodybuilders think that if I just do this little bit more, it's going to work out better, but never does. So he had a 40 milligram shot of Lasix and on stage. And it was when I was in England, I was the same because Paul Delet and Vince Taylor and I, after the 4th show on the European tour, we did like 7 shows in 9 days. We're like, fuck this, let's go to McDonald's, let's go to Chinese. So Sean Davies, the English bodybuilder, goes, well, you need a diuretic? I said, sure, what do you got? He goes, Lasix. I said, well, I've never used it. He goes, this is only a mild 5 milligram. I'm like, okay, I'll take it. So I'm laying in my hotel room. Next thing, my body just starts fucking shaking. It felt like spiders and worms under my skin. Everything just started moving and twitching. So I'm calling him up going, what you fucking give me? He goes, it's only a 5. Hold on, let me check. Oh, shit, I gave you a 20 milligram one. I'm like, you fucking arsehole. I said, I'm coming into your room. So I went into his room. I said, if I'm dying on your fucking couch. I'm into the mini bar. I'm eating peanuts. I'm eating whatever the fuck I can get into me. I was okay the next day, but just the feeling, because they just pull everything out of you. And if you've got nothing much left in you, that's why when I used to get ready for a show, I'd always be ready. I'd diet 16 weeks. Around the 12-week mark, I'd always pretty much be ready. That's when I did all my photo shoots generally before the show, because when the show's over, I'm off eating. I'm getting fat again, so I didn't want to stay in contest shape. So I'd always get ready early. That way you could play with, if you wanted to try a bit of cut water out early, do this, do that, and see how you look. So I do that, but then the last week before the show, I said the lowest I ever went on carbs dieting was 250 grams. I would never go beneath that. I just go by how I looked and how I felt. But then the last week I'd be like, maybe Monday, 8 litres of water, Tuesday, 6.5,
so
Wednesday.
You did the whole water thing, the taper thing, and a lot of people don't do it now, and a lot of people don't believe it now, Yeah,
I taper it off, but I'd never cut it out. Even the day before the show, I'd still be having maybe 1.5 litres, or every time I'd say, I didn't measure how much of it, but say if I pissed out 500 mil, I'd drink 250 mil. I'd try and whatever I pissed out, I'd drink half.
I know a lot of bodybuilders. I don't know how many bodybuilders back in the day used to do it, but I can't remember. I got told to piss in a bottle or piss in a glass, measure it, and then drink exactly, like you said, half of the amount of that you already pissed out. Because even a modulatic like L-Dactone or
that's always
they're not going to work. They're not going to work unless you're drinking water.
Yeah, I used to take Aldactone. The thing was, I'd take it maybe if the show was Saturday, around Thursday night, I'd take half of one, and then Friday, see how I looked. If I was looking, maybe a tiny bit more, I'd take maybe a quarter or half of one around Friday night or 1 a.m. in the morning, and that would be it. And then during that day, I'd just wet my mouth with water and just sip on tiny little bits. But I'd never cut it out completely, but I would know guys that were from Wednesday taking 3 or 4 Aldactone or Adactazide, and then Thursday take another one, then Friday take another one. So they're just pulling themselves out, getting flatter and flatter. And it's just, you get to the point where, you've got no water left in the muscle anywhere else.
Aldactone has a longer half-life than a diuretic. I know a lot of people that take ridiculous amounts of diuretics before the show, and it's just them thinking that it's fluid, but realistically, they're just not in condition. They're just fat. They're not there yet.
And half these guys then wonder why a day or two later when they're back eating and drinking, they're like, fuck, look at me now. I feel it out. I got veins everywhere. It's like, well, too bad, dickhead. The show's not today, is it? You blew that. That's why I always try and tell people, forget this hocus pocus. Look, I've had arguments about gurus before. And I said, look, no one knows yourself better than you. I came up with where I'd read muscle magazines, or I'd go to the gym, and like I trained at Nautilus where Paul Haslam used to be at the gym. I'd watch Paul Haslam train, so I learned to train that way. But when it came to dieting, I just go, okay, I look in a magazine. Okay, they eat rice, tuna. So I remember my very first diet was that bland. It was like tuna, wash it underwater, plain rice. And then each year you're like, well, I can get away with maybe a little bit of sauce on this. So you start learning what your body can and can't do. But it's like, to me, when you get ready for a show, all you need is just a good training partner, someone who's honest with you, and just that not a fan base, but that good support team that can say, hey, Mark, you're looking a bit soft here, tighten this up, do this, what's your diet like, or maybe do this, because these people are paying these gurus thousands of dollars. People like me come to you, get you ready for a show, Mark, and say, okay, I want you to eat this, 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 and this. I want you to train this way, and I want you to take all these drugs. So I don't know how your body's going to react, so I'll write you up a diet, 2 weeks' time, how you feeling, how you looking. Okay, well, maybe cut this out. You can do that yourself, but I'm just experimenting with you because I don't know your body. Then when it comes to the drugs, I could just say, take these drugs, how you feel.
It's trial and error, but whether it's you prepping for the first time or a coach working with you for the first time, it's always going to be trial and error.
Yeah, but then it's like later on in life, once you're a professional, you should know what you're bloody doing. That's when you just need, like, if you're a very beginner in the sport, yes, get a guru, someone to guide you. But if you've been doing it 10 years, 15 years, and now you're a professional, that's where, like, I don't get why someone like Phil Heath needs Harney. Phil Heath knows how to train, or Jay Cutler knows how to train. Ronnie Coleman knows how to train. They know what to eat. They know what drugs to use. If you want to pay someone to come and push you in the gym like Charles Glass does to people, that's great, because that's really more what you need, is someone who's going to be there every day to push you through those workouts, to get you through them, to take a look at you and say, okay, do this, do that, and maybe cut back on your carbs a little bit and stuff like that. But so many people now, and that's the thing, Joe, I can never understand, where I'd see people write to me, Lee, can you help me with a contest diet, this and that? And I'll look at their page just to see who they are, and it would be like such and such certified coach and prep coach. I'm thinking, why the fuck are you coming to me? If you're a prep coach and you're prepping 50 people I see on your page here, why can't you get your fucking self in shape? It's like, you can get all these people.
I know what you mean. I always need to stay accountable. I need someone. I always second guess. So if I think, I'm getting too lean too quick, which is probably never going to happen. No one ever gets too lean too quick. So, but that thought starts going through my head. So maybe I deserve to eat a bit more carbs and blah blah blah. But I think me personally, I always need to stay accountable.
We are our own worst enemy, because even I've done shows where a week out from a show, I've been this close, like, to pull out of the show. I look like shit. I look like crap. I'm not going to do it. Then I do the show and win it, and I see photos and I'm like, fuck, I did look good. It's like our head plays games with us, but. It's just one of those things where Paul Dillett, when he lived with me in 98 for 8 months, we were getting ready for the 98 Olympia, he had Chad. And I said to Paul, why you got Chad helping you? And he just admitted, he goes, I'm lazy. He goes, I don't want to think about what I have to eat at lunchtime.
That's a big thing too. I'm like that. Yeah. I'd rather be told.
He goes, if Chad's wrote it out, lunchtime, 300 grams of chicken, 1 cup of rice. Okay, I can follow that. He goes, I don't want to have to think. I just want to go up and look at it and go, okay, I got to have this, I got to have this, I got to have that. So
I'll literally write my own diet out, give it to whatever coach I'm starting to work with. I've only recently just stopped because I was going to try and do the amateur Olympia, but I started a prep, wrote my diet, gave it to the coach, and he basically come back and said, just do what you were doing. But that solidified, okay, I needed someone to tell me, all right, this is what I have to be doing. But I know what to do.
Yeah, but sometimes too, it's like, sometimes really when you look at bodybuilding and dieting and stuff, it's pretty basic. And I've often felt guilty when someone's like, Lee, can you write me up a diet? I'm like, I can, but can't you do it yourself? Oh, no, I want to get it from you. You're one of the best. I'm like, okay, I'll write it up. And as I'm writing down chicken breast and rice and this and that. There may be a protein drink and then later on fish. And then I give it to them and charge them for it. I'm thinking, I feel guilty charging them because it's so basic that in my mind, I'm thinking when they get it, they're going to go,
It's the same
that's
shit.
fucking it. I could have fucking done that myself.
Yeah.
That's why I tell them, you can do it yourself. It's like, but they just think
they need that reassurance.
Secret.
Yeah.
And then that's it. But the biggest mistake is I've told people the last week before a show, if you're looking good, like I said, I was always ready 2 weeks before. The only thing I did was tan up and just cut my fluid down and pump up. That was all I had to do. But now you got these guys, you see them all the time, a week or two out, looking fantastic. Or even look at Rami, last year's Olympia, 2 weeks out, he's all sunken in, he's got the glutes and shit. If he had competed like that, he probably would have won the show. But yet, in his mind, he's probably thinking, I feel flat, I look small. But they forget, when you're ripped on stage, you look twice as big. Normally, when I'd done shows and look, Chris would be like, I'd start pumping up in the corner. I just wear a big baggy top, baggy pants, so you couldn't see me. When I took it off, Chris was like, where the fuck did that come from? Because in clothes, generally, if someone looks small in clothes and looks shit, they look the best of their shape ever underneath. If someone's walking around big and huge, you're like, they're a little bit off, which is generally the case. So not only when you feel your worst and mentally you feel like shit and you think you look like shit, that's when you're going to do your very best. If you go into the show thinking, I'm feeling great, I'm feeling full, I'm feeling this, then, you're not your best. In that last week, everyone thinks they've got to do the magic thing. Carb load, sodium load, do this and do that. And like I said, so many times, a week or two out, we used to see Dennis James, you'd see Ruley, you'd see so many people. You're like, fuck, he's going to win the show. Come the day of the show, they walk on stage, you're like, what the fuck happened to them? It's like, what did you do? It's like they just...
But I've made that mistake. I'm sure I'm sure you've made that mistake too. Like, have you ever experimented? No, never.
No.
But did
I've always just stayed on the diet. That's what I said. I never went 250, lower than 250. The only contest, I look bad at, I didn't experiment, was that time I did it with the longer hair, and I got 15th, and I think Mike Davies got, not Mike Davies, fucking, what's his name? Your buddy.
Oh, John.
John Davies.
Yeah, John Davies, yeah.
He got 16th, because that year I was getting ready for that show. Like, if you're getting ready for a show, you've got to be 100% focused. I was like, 1 week, 100% focused. Next week, screw it, I'm off to McDonald's. Next week, no, I'm going to do the show. Next week, no, I'm not into it. And then I think we didn't have really social media. Maybe MySpace had come out, but it generally was getbig.com and stuff. I put up a thing, fans, I'm going to beat the Expo. I just can't do the show if my mind's not in it. How can you not do it? We've got tickets to come see you, Lee. You can't let us down. Okay, back on the diet. I'll stick to the diet. But my head wasn't in it. I didn't really take any gear. I'm just like, I'm just going to do it. So I go on stage, do the show.
Going back to that. Yeah,
week later, I got bombarded. How the fuck could you walk out on stage like that, letting us down, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, I told you I wasn't going to be in shape, so what more do you want? So,
you've got that obligation, though, don't you? Especially as a pro, you got to meet everyone's expectations, especially your fans. And that's the same show you were talking about, that press conference where you stood up with a letter. What was in that letter?
I just wrote down, just saying different points about. See, this is where Wayne was a good promoter, because I had spoke to Wayne before it. And I said, Wayne, I want to do this, put it in writing. I said, well, if I put it in writing, will you accept it? He's like, well, I'll go talk to Kerry Kays, because when he read it, he goes, I spoke to Kerry Kays earlier, we've guaranteed. So I said, look, I'll put it in writing and stuff, and I'll stand up and give it to you. He goes, and he started walking and comes back and goes, okay, Lee, let's do this. So I knew ahead of time that this was the whole thing, because, Wayne, like I said, he's a good promoter. He gets that whole thing about, like, the WFF back in the day and stuff like that. I'll go against you, you go against me. He goes, okay, Lee, at the press conference, start it up. You just start up. Do you want the athletes to get money? And that's when Wayne's like, and you, Lee, said you'd get up and walk out of here if I didn't give him money. And that's when I said, well, I did put it in writing. Here you go. And I gave it to him.
Because he wasn't expecting that. From that little snippet of video that I saw, it didn't seem like he was expecting you to actually physically have the letter at the press conference.
He knew it was coming, so that's why he said, I spoke to Kerry Kays and everyone's going to get $2,000. Because he even goes, Lee, just make a big spectacle out of it. You go at me, then I'll go back at you. And that's how Wayne was. That's why I used to say back in the day when I'd have these problems with the IFBB, if they were smart, they could make it good cop, bad cop. I could say something rather than take it personally, get all butthurt about something. Just make it like, the WWF back in the day was, they'd be mad at Vince McMahon about something. Then McMahon would come out and have a go at them and the crowd would be booing someone or they'd like somebody else. So I said, they could have made bodybuilding like that. They could have had Jim Mannion put me down, Wayne Demilia put me down, then I go back at them. It's like, make it fucking entertaining for people.
I shit you not, when the whole split happened with the IFBB and Tony, well, I hit Tony up. I said, look, but me and you have been talking about me becoming New South Wales promoter for a long time. I go, if there's anything that's going to happen, if anything ever did happen, I want the job.
Mm-hmm.
And in my mind, I was thinking Vince McMahon wrestling. How are we going to do this? How are we going to promote it? NWO takes over the fucking the CW. And it sounds childish, but I looked at it as a business perspective. That's when everyone was hooked. And when the whole split happened, it was like we could destroy this and make it massive, and we did. And we took off. They went to shit, and it's history. Like, you know what I mean? But I love that whole. I learned a lot from that episode of that interview from with Wayne Demilia as a promoter.
That's the thing. I said, he had his moments where, like I said, people hated him and everything like that, and Bob Chick can say he was bad like this. But then I've seen those interviews with Bob Ciccarello when the split happened, and he was that Jim Rockwell back in the day was like a father to him. Now he doesn't talk to him and stuff like that. So Bob, okay. Back in early, Bob wasn't bad, but then Bob just become a company man. You know, he's getting paid by the IFBB to MC this and that, so he's not going to say anything bad, is he? He's going to go where his bread's buttered. Whereas me, I didn't give a shit, because what people didn't realise too, even when I had contracts in America, I'd always sometimes look in classifieds for different jobs, because I'm thinking this shit could end at any time. I don't mind working. I used to clean factories at 2 a.m. in the morning, do service fire equipment and stuff like that, and clean homes on weekends and stuff to make extra money. So I'm like, it doesn't bother me. So like I said, I've had contracts at the time up to 18,000 or more a month, and then when I got suspended and shit, I went down to 4,000 a month. You know, which is a big drop. But I'm like, hey, I still got a roof over my head. I still got food on the table. I can still go to the gym. So I don't give a shit. You know, it's like I'll go get a normal job. And there were many days I think, you know what, the normal job would be good, because you get health benefits, you get fucking superannuation, whereas bodybuilding, like I said, you could be top of the world one day, tear your pec, get injured, career done. And, you know, us bodybuilders back in the day, every time we got a contract money or, excuse me, a check from winning, we went and fucking spent it. We weren't saving shit back in the day. So, No, so I said I was always looking for other jobs and stuff. So to me, bodybuilding, yes, I enjoyed doing it. So competing was more for the companies, for the contracts. I love going to the expos for the fiends and everything, but competing, I never really enjoyed it. You know, when I was younger, yeah, it was fun, but then, I don't know, it just, you know, once I saw a lot of the politics going into it, because to me, it's like, I was even at shows sometimes where I might have placed ahead of someone, I'd be like, well, he should have beat me, but because, say, it was someone like Raquel, someone from overseas, I'm thinking, to me, whoever's the best on the day, if it's his first pro show and he's from Germany, you don't have to know him, but you can see that he's the best guy on stage that day. Put him fucking first. Don't give me this, he's got to pay his dues, he's got to do this, we don't know him fucking bullshit. And so when I started getting that, I'm just like, you know what, this is sort of, I'll compete because I have to for the contracts and stuff. But as far as the placings went, that's why I'd always make fun about my placing, because they say, Lee, how are you going to do? I'm like, I don't care. If I get top 10, I'll be happy. A lot of my videos that Mitch did training for the Olympia, I'll be on there, because, you know, everyone's like training for number one. I'd be like this, and someone starts talking, it's like, shut up, I'm training for 8th place right now. Just keep your mouth shut. You know, so people, but even Kevin's like, Lee, one time he's like, how you doing? I said, I don't care how I do. He's like, Lee, you've got to be serious. Look, I was always a realist. People always, you know, I get comments all the time. Oh, you're just upset, you little fucking midget, because you never won the Olympia. It's like, no shit, dickheads. It's like, I'm not upset because I'm a fucking realist. I knew I'd never win the fucking Olympia. That wasn't my goal. My goal was to get in the top 10, because back then, if you got in the top 10, that qualified you for the Mr. Olympia next year. Yeah. And I knew I wasn't going to win the fucking Olympia, so that wasn't my thing. So I never went into it. That's why I hate when people say, if you're not going into this show thinking you can be number one and win it, you shouldn't be here. Like you always said at the Olympia press conference, I'm going to win it if you don't think that way, you shouldn't be here. Look, you just go into a show the best you can be. As long as you know you trained 100%, you died 100%, you've given it 100%, and you look your best, that's all you can do. Deep inside, but...
but anyone that says that's all talk, even if you watch the press conferences now, like the last one I went to when I was in Vegas...
Could you imagine when you sit there, if you're sitting there and you're someone like Sean Roden or someone, or anyone, and Phil Heath at his best is there, you can't sit there and say, I'm here to fucking win. If you know Phil Heath's at his best, you know you ain't going to fucking beat him.
Well, Sean Roden's probably the only one that I'd let argue the point and maybe Kai Green. But anyone else, realistically, like I can't remember who exactly it was, but I remember the press conference and they say, I'm here to win. Yeah, you're kidding yourself.
I've seen Sean win it too, but to me, it was like, okay, Sean won it, but it was more like he didn't really beat Phil. Yeah, he did technically, but Phil,
yeah, he wasn't his
destroyed
best.
himself. If he was at his best, it's like it wasn't like Sean won. It's like Phil lost it. I'm not taking nothing away from Sean because he looked fantastic and the best man on the day is going to win. But,
that's right. Yeah,
Phil at his best. And I've always said Kai too. He did the same thing. Kai would play that size game. Kai had that much mass on his frame, that dense thickness. Could you imagine him coming in dry as a fucking bone and just shredded? He'd be unbeatable. But, it's just like so many guys had the potential to win it. But I don't know, this whole size game that just took over and, the conditioning. That's why when someone like, I forgot his name now, who was the guy that got third and they said he should have won?
William Bonac.
No, this was the year before.
So we had
the guy that had a hard time, Hardy. Was it Hardy? Had a hard time getting into the country.
Oh, yeah, Hardy Chopman.
Yeah, him. It's like he looked fantastic, and the reason why everyone was so drawn to him is like when you get a guy on stage or that's that shredded now and that thing, you just look to him like, wow, he's incredible. Whereas a long time ago, there was that many guys that looked that way. You sort of, okay, you stood out. But now you got these guys that are, I say they're in great condition, but then when you get someone who's just that perfect condition where they're so dry, your eyes just look straight to them. It's like, that Patrick Moore. His conditioning stood out because he was just in such great condition up there. Wasn't the biggest guy, but yet you keep looking at him because
his shape is what drew my eyes to him. Is this classical look, but with size. Yeah, yeah.
And there was that one guy at the Arnold Classic this year that got overlooked. Oh, I forgot his name. His picture came up not long ago before. I was going to say black guy, but then that covers half the lineup, so you wouldn't fucking know from that.
You're not talking about Sergio.
No, not Sergio. No,
I know you're talking about the older bloke.
Yeah,
I can't remember his name. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Fuck, if Gally was here, he'd be able to tell you straight away. Yeah.
Yeah. So now people are going to say I'm racist now, saying whole lineup was black.
But he had the best conditioning of the day.
It was, yeah. He should have been a lot higher. So it's just it's hard to pick and choose. Like I said, bodybuilding is such an opinionated sport. But when you get to me, it was like, okay, it's opinionated. Yes, I know if I was judging, I'd probably pick people like Dorian or Paul Dillette, the freaky guys, but still look good. If someone came out bloated, I probably wouldn't. But if someone's in condition, I would. You're going to have that preference. But even having your preference of the body type you like, you still have those guidelines where it comes down to conditioning, symmetry, muscle balance and all this sort of stuff. So you should be able to overlook all that shit and actually judge accordingly. But then some shows you go to, you're like, what the hell? How the hell did that happen? Exactly. So even a blind man could have judged that better. So it's, there's still that little bit of politics involved, I guess, here and there. And then you'd have other people. To me, it was like if somebody, okay, we've heard it before, if someone owns a gym or they're a promoter or this or that, or they know the guy personally, even if you could say, like, people always blame Weinberger being on the judging panel when Dorian was there, or this guy trains at Weinberger's gym, so he's going to win the show, put him first. Like, if you know that type of gossip's going on, just remove yourself from the panel. That way, if he does win, they can't say it's because you were on the panel. Just step out, put somebody else in. That way they can't say, well, he won because Weinberg. Weinberg said, look, I didn't judge his division. I wasn't there, so it wasn't me. So
there's always going to be something. Yeah, there's going to be some sort of speculation. Yeah.
It's like, I know people used to say that when Jim Mannion would come to town in Venice, and then like Craig Titus and Paul Dillette. I remember Paul was living with me. He goes, Lee, we're going over to Jimmy's hotel. You come? I said, what for? We're going to show him how we're looking. I'm like, Jimmy will see me the day to show. I said, I'm not being rude or anything, but I'm not going over there to his hotel room to pose. I said, he'll see me the day to show. And then I remember another time when Adela I was with, he had his Pittsburgh show, and you'd have Kevin Leverone guest posing, Paul Dillette guest posing, and all the top guys. And then all of a sudden, the Olympia, those guys that guest posed for Jimmy were in the first call-out. People would be like, well, is it because they're the best guys or because they guest pose for Jimmy at his show for free? Because I said to Paul, how much do you get? He goes, oh, no, for Jimmy, we guest pose for free. So, there's always that thing where people are always going to be like, oh, that's why he did this and did that. So,
there's always going to be that speculation. All right, Lee, let's leave it there. We've spoken over now. I want to get you back on because we could talk for fucking hours and hours and hours on end. Thanks very much for coming on, mate. I hope you're holding up during lockdown, and we might get you on in a couple more weeks to talk about a bit more shit. We'll probably leave your daughter out of conversation.
She's heard law before. She'll put up a funny comment, Dad, why'd you say that or this or that?
Just make sure when you share the post, you tag her in it.
She's a grown woman now. She's 29, which makes me feel old because I'm thinking, shit, I'm 48-ish. I'm thinking, bloody hell, it's like 29 for her daughter now. I'm thinking, geez, where did time go? That's why Actually, I was watching the thing the other day. It came up on, because I got a treadmill here and it's got a screen on it. So I get bored, I'll watch the YouTube and the conspiracies. But then somehow, as I was flicking along, those Lee Priest motivational things come up. You know, where someone puts together a nice, here's you training for the Olympias and all this, the music. I'm like, oh, let me have a look at this one. I haven't seen this one. I watched it. Within 2 minutes, I almost felt like I was going to fucking neck myself. It's like, people go, this Lee, we watch your videos, are motivational. I'm watching it thinking, oh, there I am at 20 years old. Oh, that was so much fun back in those days. There's Joe Gold. He's passed away now. There's another friend. He's passed away now. I remember that contest. That was fun.
Yeah, but the bad thing with you too, the worst thing with you is the pictures that people share are the freaky ones of you at a certain age. So the freaky photos of you at 17 and then, like you said, at 20. It's only because no one at that age has ever looked like that.
But even when I watch
the
those videos, like they do this whole monologue. Sometimes it looks like one of those videos you play at someone's fucking funeral, like this is your life. So I'm on the treadmill, I felt got fucking tears in my eyes going, I'm fucking depressed as shit. This isn't motivating me at all.
Well, one day when you do cark it, we'll just wait for Generations tribute documentary on your life.
No, I'll be like, he died from steroids, he did this, he did that, he killed himself. I always said if I'm going to kill myself, don't worry, I've got a nice little list right here. I'm not going alone. There'll be a few coming with me.
Just make sure you write a letter that they can post all over social media before you do.
Yes, and if your in-laws have got this far to the end of this, I apologise for swearing. It's just the way I talk.
You know what? If I let them know that they've been mentioned, they'll watch it. But I think I'll have a stern talking to after.
I apologise. Yeah. Just tell them this. Just tell them to say another prayer for me or Hail Mary, whatever religious denomination they are.
We'll leave it there. All right, Lee. Thanks heaps for coming on, mate, and we'll get you on again soon.
That'd be great.
All right. Thanks, buddy. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for watching.